Since when did healthy become so goddamn hard to just do or to just be? Like, I can answer that question. I can say that's because being healthy and wellness and fit and nutrition and diets and weight loss, because it's all such a big money maker that it has become complicated. People around us tell us that we need to have somebody telling us what to do if we are going to get this right. Money. All steps from money. What a surprise. But my point is, that's not what I'm here to talk about. But my point is that when we constantly follow somebody else's rules around what it is that we are supposed to be doing, then we just become stuck because we're almost like not thinking for ourselves anymore. And I don't mean that to be patronizing in any way at all, but we have forgotten how to think for ourselves when it comes to eating. And by that, I mean, you know what you like. You know that you can't eat like bags and bags of chocolate every single day and still have the health goal that you want to have. You already know that. You don't need to be told that, but you are allowed to have some of it. And you are allowed to eat all of the fruit and all of the vegetables and all of the other kind of food groups. But we've been told by so many different people that everything we do is wrong. Basically, I'd say we're allowed to drink water without being judged for it, but actually, I don't even think we're allowed to do that anymore. Like the bottles that we have that are like super special. I can't remember what the brand is, but it's like this super special sort of like Himalayan like mountain water is just like the best water in the planet. And if you drink anything less, then you're just going to be sick and die. And it's stuff like that. And we collect all of these like rules around food. But like I said, we have made it hard. We have made eating difficult. We have made the process of being healthy difficult because we have stopped thinking for ourselves and we've started taking all of this advice from all of these different people and almost created them as being fact for ourselves. It's like I said about the water and like I said about the chocolate, like we already know, like we're not silly. We already know what makes us healthy and we know what makes us like a little bit less healthy. We don't need all of these rules. And we certainly don't need somebody who's sat in there, she says, sat in her little office telling you what you should do. Yes, I'm not telling you that you have to follow this special plan. I'm telling you to think for yourself. But it's that we take these kind of rules and these ideas that people have, and they literally are ideas. Those ideas work for everybody. These meal plans and these diets and everything, they work. Of course, they work. But do they work for you? And that's the question that I really want you to be asking yourself is, how do I want to be living my life? How does my life look? I know we have this idea of what our life we would like our life to look like, but what does your life look like right now? And how can I fit healthy, me being healthy into that? Because when we're trying to force it, when we're trying to force ourselves into a way of being, a way of living, a way of eating or exercising, it doesn't actually quite fit with our life at the moment. We constantly hit that stuckness and we want to make this easy. We want to make healthy easy for ourselves. And if you don't like certain types of food and the meal plan is predominantly based around those foods, I'm not a big fan of cooked vegetables. I'm really not. I will eat them raw all day long and I quite like them roasted, but boiled, mushy vegetables are just ugh. Literally, some vegetables just makes my skin crawl. I'm okay with that because I know what I like and what I don't like. So carrots, I love carrots. I love raw carrots. I love roasted carrots. But you boil a bloody carrot and give it to me, and I'm just like, no, don't like it. So finding your own preference for food basically is where you start. And I know that sounds like it's so out of this world, or if I just want to eat chocolate all day long. There is going to be that thought there, but you're not going to eat chocolate all day long, trust me. And even if you do, you're only going to do it for a day, maybe two, because you'll feel so sick that you won't even want to eat it again ever. So it is that what is it that you want to do? How is it that what does having a healthy life look like for you? That's really the question that we should be asking, not what's the best kind of diet plan so that I can be healthy? What's the best exercise routine that I have to do so that that's easy, that so that I can do it? None of that matters. Yes, they can give you like pointers and things like that, but none of that really matters if it doesn't fit in with your life, because healthy has to fit in with your life. If you want to keep this going, and if you want to keep this going forever and it not be just like a 6 month thing, then you have to be willing to put in that work behind it. You have to be willing to practice doing those things. And the best way to do that is to take small steps. I always say to my ladies, and they always look at me just like, what? It is that if you want to start going for a walk, because you know that's not only good for your like mental well-being, for de-stressing, but it's also going to help you become fitter. It's going to help your joints and your hips and all of the muscles, all of the legs, all of the body, all of that stuff. And you don't want to go out for a half an hour walk at the moment, then go for a 5 minute walk. Even smaller than that, just put your trainers on and walk around the house. I know, what? I'm not doing anything. I know you're not doing anything, but that's the point. It's if you are doing something that is so uncomfortable for you, you want to be doing it, but you just can't seem to get yourself to do that, then just do the first thing that you have to do. What's the first thing that you have to do to be able to go out for a walk? Put your bloody shoes on. That is it. That's obviously clothes if you haven't got clothes on. What you need to be able to go out for that walk is to put your shoes on. So if you're sitting there and you're just like, I need to go out for this half an hour walk and it needs to be like worthwhile, it's that all or nothing mentality again. But if you just put those trainers on and you just walk around the house doing your cooking the elaborate food that you have going on, but you just put those trainers on, you will start to build up a habit putting the trainers on, and then you will go out for a walk eventually. That's just not what you're doing right now. So you will put those trainers on and you will do the cooking and you will maybe, I don't know, tidy up the house a little bit, whatever. And then in about a couple of days, a week's time, you'll be like, oh, I've got my trainers on. I may as well go out. I've been wearing these trainers now for a week around the house and I still haven't been out for a walk. So maybe I'll just go do that now. So then you go out for a walk. But even that feels intimidating. So walk to the end of the road and back. And that's it. Your walk is done. And then in a week's time, you will get so fed up of walking to the end of the road that you might even go to the end of the next road and then walk back. And then you might find yourself actually going for a half an hour walk, or maybe even longer, all because you decided to put on your trainers and just walk around the house with them. And this is how you build up those steps. I remember wanting to build up a gym habit for early hours of the morning because I was a mum of two at this point. So we had school runs and I had a baby. So my 6 o'clock exercise was for my mental well-being, in all fairness, but that was the time that I could go. I'm not an evening exerciser. I like to go to bed in the evening, not to go and exercise. So 6 o'clock in the morning it was. That's what I would do. But to get there, I was already exercising with a personal trainer. So I already had some kind of experience behind me. But my fear was going into that gym. I had to be able to get into that gym. So, how was I going to do that? I had to create my own rules around it. So, I would get up at 5:30 and I would drive to the gym and I would walk inside the door. And then I could decide what I wanted to do. Then I could just go home. But I couldn't decide when I woke up in the morning. I couldn't decide in the car park. I had to walk in through that door because I knew that was the most challenging step for me, was to actually get inside. Once I was inside, I could decide. I cannot tell you how many times I turned around and left until one day I was just like, Jules, come on. Jack keeps you up all night. You've got a baby. He doesn't like to sleep. So there is no kind of time for you to do this without you being absolutely exhausted. So I eventually just said to myself, Jules, come on, let's just stay. So I walked on the treadmill. I can't remember how long it was, but it was a tiny amount of time, maybe 15 minutes or something. I have to walk on the treadmill for 15 minutes. That's all I had to do. And then I could just go back home. And then over time, that 15 minutes turned into a run. Over time, that walking through the gym door took me to the weights room. And that's ultimately where I stayed. But that was the step. That was how I built up that habit of going to the gym. I didn't just walk in the gym like, come on, Jules, let's smash out an hour workout and you lift those weights and you get rid of all of that self doubt and that like imposter syndrome. And especially 10 years ago, I grew up with the belief that the weights room was a man's space only. Even if it wasn't massively true even 10 years ago, it's definitely not true now. But 10 years ago, that was probably still just a little bit, that was probably still just a little bit true. So I also had to get over that. So walking in the gym and going straight into the weights room was not something that I felt comfortable doing. So it was just walk through the door. Once I'd done that for long enough to like, oh, come on, waking up at 5:30, you're not even doing anything. Like, can we just do something here? Go on the gym, walk on there for 15 minutes, and then walk for half an hour, and then run, and then weights rooms. However, that process looks for you, you just have to find that starting place for it. It doesn't have to be so complicated. It doesn't have to be, right, I need to do a half an hour HIIT workout in my front room 4 times a week. It doesn't have to be, I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week and I'm going to have this kind of massive plan and I'm going to feel so overwhelmed by it that I'm not going to be able to do any of it. This is where we make it complicated. This is where we make it feel like it's a full-time job to just be healthy. But it honestly, it doesn't have to be like that. If you want to achieve your goal the hard and fast way and only be able to sustain that for maybe a couple of months, then crack on. You go ahead and do that. That's fine. I'm not judging anybody for how they are choosing to achieve their goal. But I think the people that I'm talking to want to achieve lasting stuff. We are of an age where we actually need to start thinking about the future just a tiny little bit more. And I think these hard and fast approaches worked when we're 20. Absolutely, they did. Of course, they did. We've got youth on our side. But now the body's starting to settle down a little bit. We're in our 40s. Everything's just starting to do its own little thing. It's just trying to shift and change. And I think we need to be thinking about that and thinking about like our future. I do not want to be sat in a chair when I'm 80, and I'm pretty sure that you don't want to be stuck in a chair, not being able to move, not in a home because you've fallen over and you've broken your hips a couple of times and now you can't look after yourself. Nobody really wants to live like that. So this is the time where we start preparing for that. When I talk about exercise, but actually that's we talk about our health and the things that we eat too. And it's the same principle, starting small. How are you going to improve what you're eating so that it's more on the healthier side, still having all of that stuff that you still love, but having it more on the healthy side? And it's the same principle. If I'm not eating any vegetables, how am I going to get in a vegetable into my daily meal? Breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever. Doesn't matter which one, just pick one. We're just starting. Are you just going to be eating one vegetable forever? Are you just going to be walking to the end of the road and back forever? Absolutely not. Some people might, but I don't think I'm speaking to those people. But you naturally move on because you can see, because you build confidence, you build up this momentum. That's my point. And you start to see yourself as somebody who is a walker, who is an exerciser, who eats healthy food, who starts to look after themselves in ways that feel good for them. You start seeing yourself as that person. So you start wanting to do more. So if you are ready to finally make healthy easy and really dive into ditching all of those rules, finding a happy relationship with food, finding small steps, even your happy place for exercise, then come join me in Healthy Made Easy. It is available now. It is a week early than what I was expecting it to be because I finished it and I was just so excited. I was like, get it out there now. But I am offering it at a massive discount up until the 1st of November, which is when it was originally supposed to be launched. So the price will go up on the 1st of November. So jump in there now, grab it at the discount price. And yeah, so for now, even if you don't join, for now, just remember, take small steps. If you want to do something and it just feels so big that you just become so overwhelmed by it, then how can you break it down into something so tiny that it feels so insignificant that you think, oh my God, that's stupid. I can't possibly do that. That's just totally pointless. That is where you should be starting because that small step is going to build up to that big picture that you want. Okay, that's it for me this week, and I will speak to you all very soon.